This is Special Report.
Black holes are one of the strangest things in existence.
Neil Armstrong may have seen extraterrestrials on the moon.
When he spies a discernible shape.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there. And no one, no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe, the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the once great state of New York. My name is Rob Ox, and man, do we have a show for you today. I am excited for this show. We're going to be talking a lot of deep topics, but also some surface level stuff too. And we're going to be bridging the gaps and connecting all of the avenues that we talk about. So as everybody knows, today's guest is Mark Attwood. And Mark is a lifelong spiritual truth seeker, entrepreneur, author, and free sovereign human that entered this dimension in England in the late 1960s. His path involved resigning from the RAF while under training as a pilot in 1989, when he realized that there was something very wrong with our system and started to awaken to the deeply brainwashed state. So there's a long bio. We're not going to get too far into it, but Mark has done tremendous work in exposing a lot of the globalist elites and satanic entities that reside within the top tiers of government and all the rest of it. So without further ado, let's bring in Mark. Mark, how are you, brother?
Hello, Rob. Great to meet you.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. It's just an honor and a privilege to have you here. And your insight is so welcomed onto this broadcast because, like we were talking about backstage for a moment, you are that bridge. You are the one that takes that stuff that's happening in our everyday life that we see, but you're also able to divulge into the entities that control those factors. So we go from the minions to the top tier and the brass, down to the brass tacks of what's truly going on. So I applaud you, and it's just incredible to have you here.
Well, thank you for that. You're doing great work, Rob, and it's a real pleasure to be here. By the way, have you seen your subscriber count on YouTube today?
I have. It has gone up a little bit for sure. Absolutely.
Go and read out the number.
It's 14,491. Let me refresh.
But on YouTube, you're in backstage. On YouTube, it's 14.4K.
Oh, nice.
144.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Mark, I wanted to jump right in, and I went to your website, and the first thing I see is the truth hidden in plain sight. Now, I know what that means to me. Tell us what that means to you.
Yeah, when did I learn that phrase? I think it was probably David Icke. Everything is literally hidden in our faces, and we stand on the shoulders of giants at this time. There are people like David Icke and Ollie Damagard. Ollie Damagard has done amazing work on FFs. I'm not going to say the thing because we're on YouTube. They have to show us, they have to tell us what they're going to do. And they have to tell us what's going on. They do it through movies, they do it through architecture, they do it through pop videos, they do it, it's everywhere. And that's, there's a great website everybody should go and look at called vigilancecitizen.com. That's a fantastic resource for looking at symbolism, because symbols are the key to everything. That website strapline is it's symbols that rule the world. And when I first read that quite a long time ago, it dawned on me that the symbols themselves carry frequencies, and the frequencies come into our minds, and we are the creators. We're the suppressed creators, right? And they beam these frequencies in, and then we build our own, because we create matter and we create the universe around us. We build our own. We've been building our own prison. So
yeah, it's so true. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was just leaning onto the law of karma. They have to tell us what they're going to do, and if we don't object to it, then and you go deeper into this as well. Everything is run on consent. Everything from paying tax to your electricity bill to, in the UK, TV licenses, all the parking fines. That it's all consent based. And it's just a great big trick. They're very good at tricking us.
Very much so. And a lot of what we see today is people regaining their sovereignty and finding different ways, especially when it comes to bills and things like that, and how they're trading your social security numbers in the stock market. Therefore, you're not liable for a lot of what goes on around you. And Ole is one of my favorite people. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, and he saved millions of lives. And hopefully, we stand on the shoulders of those people who truly are changing this reality to create this new earth that we are moving into, with a restructuring of all around us, between financial systems, between the hierarchies, and how the people run the states themselves, and all of that. And it's incredible to see. And when I looked into who you were and where you came from, I wanted to ask you, when did this truly just click for you? And tell us a little bit about what it was that engaged you in a way that you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what they're saying is happening, and turn the tide for you.
Well, I was always a weird kid, right? My earliest memory was demons trying to recruit me in my bedroom in the early 70s. A memory that I'd kind of forgotten about until all this kicked off again. And it came out, I think I was on the Charlie Ward show, and it just came out of my mouth. And I was like, did I just go on the internet and talk about demons? Oh my God, I'm ruined. But no, I mean, really, it was when I was in it was in the RAF, the Royal Air Force, right? So that was my dream job, and I manifested that, and I did it against all the odds. And I got in there, and I got the highest score they'd given a pilot in 22 years. I was good, and I loved flying. I absolutely loved flying, but I hated the military. Two of my friends committed suicide, and these were covered up, and I was flying in Germany, and there were things going on that the newspapers were telling the opposite of what was actually going on. And I was like, and that was the first day for me. I think I remember coming into the officers' mess and picking up the Daily Telegraph, which I worked for a couple of years later. And on the front cover, it said something about Margaret Thatcher says blah, blah, blah. And I went, that isn't true. Oh my God, the government's lying to the people. This is where that started for me. I was like, who am I working for? And then I met Prince Philip. I got an award at St. James's Palace, and I met him, and I can still feel his handshake. The man was so evil beyond belief. And I was just at the point where my dad had just died as well. So I was in an emotional state. And I just thought, I can't do this. They want me to drop bombs on innocent people. And my soul literally couldn't continue. So I left. And then I became I was a stand-up poet. I was a published poet. I was a journalist. I did loads of things in my 20s. I had a theater company. I was a stand-up comic. I had a couple of TV shows. I was having a lot of fun in my 20s. Then I think it was in 1999. It was a Canadian comedian in a curry house in Manchester told me about the protocols of the Elders of Zion. Now I was always deeply interested in the esoteric and the metaphysical and all of this kind of stuff, but I turned my back on God when my dad died, and I described myself as a kind of agnostic stroke atheist for quite a long time. I'm not anymore, by the way, but I read the protocols of the Elders of Zion, and this was just as the Y2K was coming up, and when I read that document, I crapped my pants. I was like, oh, this makes what? This is a blueprint. All of this was laid out. Now, people may be watching this and going, oh, it's anti-Semitic, it's this, that, and the other. I'm not going to bother explaining the full details of what is contained in the protocols, but if you do go to Janet Osbard's Fall of the Cabal channel on Bitchute, you will find a brilliant episode that explains that the history of this document goes back like 700 years or something. And it's not the only thing out there, but it sort of cracked me open and started making me think, hang on, something's really not right. And things had never felt right. But I was so brainwashed as a kid because I wanted to be in the military and I believed in fighting for Queen and country. I used to salute the TV when the national anthem came on when nobody else was in the room. I was really like that. I don't confuse that with me being that, patriotism is a good thing. Nationalism is a good thing. But I was so brainwashed. It was crazy. I just believed everything they told me, and it was mainly bollocks. And then my friend Jeff Campbell was in the towers on 9/11. So his brother Matt and I we knew something was wrong with that immediately, and we did a lot of digging. And Matt, it ended up with me getting an invite to Guantanamo Bay in 2016, I think it was, but I didn't go. Matt went, and you know, he ended up burning the 9/11 Commission outside the American Embassy in London. He was on Alex Jones, and you know, he fought really hard. And I think they tried to kill him twice, at least twice, because there was a fire in his flat. And a really weird thing, if anybody watching it, go to Google and type in Hurricane Matthew, and you'll see this weather picture of this hurricane with the face of a skull, a demonic face of a skull. That hurricane just missed his plane when he was on the way to Guantanamo Bay, and it was called Hurricane Matthew. So there's a lot of weird shit. I mean, you know, there's so many stories I've got like that. But you know, after the world didn't end in 2000, I then started taking David Icke seriously, and I started reading his books, and then just, you know, I think a lot of people watching this might agree that everything that you've done in your life all kind of makes sense when you look back on it. And when this time happened, it was such a, you know, I'm talking about the last 2 years, what I call it spiritual quarantine. I just had huge spiritual experiences. You know, I get them all now. I mean, we're changing, we're evolving, and we're tuning into our spirit far more than we've ever done. And I just got a very, very strong message. I'd been talking about all of this stuff on Facebook and at parties for like 10, 15 years, but I've never got on YouTube to talk about it because I have an online digital agency, digital marketing agency. That's my business and my bread and butter. I've been teaching digital marketing for like 14 years. And that's why I'd not been on YouTube talking about this stuff, because I was afraid it would ruin my business. But then I got the call, and it was like, you have to go. I was literally forced out of my car by spirit, and I thrust the phone in my son's hand, and I said, film me. He said, what for? I said, I don't know, just film me. And that's when I started the YouTube thing. And then just loads of bizarre circumstances along the way. Am I going on a bit here, Rob? Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I love this. Go ahead. This is amazing.
Well, I noticed he's a very divisive character because of a lot of character assassinations, but I noticed I found Charlie Ward at that time. And why I found Charlie interesting is because he was being positive about everything when everybody else was being doom and gloom. It's the end of the world. And I kind of like that. And because I'm an uphill optimist, you know, I've known this time's been coming for a very long time, but I know that I didn't come here to see the end of the world. I came here to see the beginning of the new earth. I've always known that. And I've always known I had a job to do. I just didn't know what it was until the last 2 years, really. Even though I've done a lot of things in my life, this is the first time I feel like I'm actually being true to myself 100%, and I'm giving it my best. And I'm, you know, and the people that have subscribed to my channels and followed me and stuff have kept me going in unbelievable ways. And I know that it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's a two-way street. And there's people like you, and there's just so many amazing people that have had the balls to stand up against the biggest psychological operation and spiritual operation in history and speak out, because, you know, what is a digital soldier? I mean, people will not believe what's gone on behind the scenes over the last 2 years with all of this, because they just see what's on the screen. But those books are going to be written for years and years and years. But anyway, so I found Charlie Ward, and I remember going on his Facebook page. This was really early on, about April, May 2020, and I saw all these people, the thousands, tens of, I mean, he just got tens of thousands of followers really quickly, and which I don't think was manipulated at all. He genuinely got those followers. And I remember being on his Facebook page before it got taken down, and loads of people were going, what's happening? I just don't understand what's happening. I know something's wrong. So I just wrote a post, quite a long post, saying, look, guys, I've been at this quite a long time. This is my view. Don't be scared. We're going to get through this. And it was just like a really positive post, and it got shared like 100,000 times or something, which got the attention of Lee, who was, I didn't know Lee at the time, but Lee was helping Charlie with marketing his channel, and he contacted me and said, can you come on the show? And then that just, it sort of blew up from there.
That's incredible. And I love the fact that you're looking at it in a positive light. And I think that's sort of one of the reasons why I was drawn to your channel too, is expressing that positivity and really looking into who we are, and ushering in that golden age of spirituality and the internalization of all these energies and understanding. And truly, I think that's where we move forward from this point. But, you know, I love that you said, you know, all the points leading up to when you had that moment was basically like a practice run almost. It was intentional. And the fact that you had to see those specific signs before you were able to get to that point is so indicative of my path as well, and the things that I've been through to get to that place where I was good with myself. And I had to be okay with myself and go through some of that darker history and go through some of the things that are less spoken about and more felt, I guess would be a good way to put it, and to move from that point forward. And I think that that's, we praise people like you for bringing those stories forward, because it's truly important for people to hear that, to make those connections themselves. And the reason I know that people were drawn to Charlie was because they felt their ticklers in the back of their neck saying something's not right. And when that happens, people panic and they don't know where to look. But he was giving them, and I love Charlie too, and his, his ability to speak the truth in that way, in that positive manner, and really lay it down for people. I mean, and he's so well versed, and knows so many people that really get to the issue and talk about it. Truly, I interviewed a lady by the name of Victoria Reynolds. She's one of Charlie's angels. So, it's a close-knit community, but it's branching out more and more and more. And there's more people, I guess, noticing the fact that there are people out there trying to create change and trying to be the change that they create. But we keep, telling people it starts with you. It can't be anybody else but you first. And, your story definitely quantifies that for everybody else. And I think it's just incredible.
Well, that was the amazing thing when I did that interview with him and I started talking about demons. I didn't plan to talk about that at all, and I just got loads and loads of emails from people saying same things happened to me, and I was like, oh. And then I realized actually there's something to this, because I didn't know what I was going to talk about on my own channel, but I've done 400 videos since then, so it's endless, and I feel like my job has been to sort of, apart from being positive and bring laughter, because demons hate laughter, right? And I've been fighting these demons my whole life, and bringing knowledge and laughter and stuff like that. And I don't know, some people slag off that kind of thing as hopium, but if you understand, I've always been an optimist, right? So and I've had a very blessed life. I've done loads of things, and I'm very grateful for everything. But I have had long dark tea time of the soul, and then I was suicidal about 4 years ago, and that was when God saved my ass basically and said, no, you've got work to do, you're not going anywhere. I was like, okay. What have I got to do?
All right.
Yeah, and then
game on, right?
Game on, yeah, exactly. and I'm I really the big thing for me was, firstly, no fucking way are my kids going to grow up in the New World Order. No, I'm not having it. 2, I don't give a shit if they kill me. It doesn't matter, right? 3, I want my kids to know I stood up and did something. That's what really got me up every day. And then the audience kept me going, because there was times when I thought, am I making a difference? Is it worth carrying on with? I don't know. But actually, yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And the emails I've had, people have saved their lives. I mean, that's just right. Talk about karma clearing. That's amazing. And it's been a real privilege to do that. And, my poems I've been really proud of my poems, but most of them have been channeled, and they're all mainly all positive or funny or manifesting, or, and they touch people's souls. And that's just an amazing gift to have. And I think lots of people in the so-called truther community, I don't normally like those kind of terms, but a lot of people have kind of these special powers. You've got Tom Numbers with his numerology, you've got tarot from Tarot by Janina or whatever. Everybody's got this kind of different angle on it, and I call it frequency matching, because the teacher appears when the student's ready, and the people that find you are the ones that need to hear what you've got to say at the time. So there are some guys out there chasing all the intel, and they do it in a kind of low IQ type of way, but that's fine, because that's what's required. A lot of people need to hear it spoon-fed to them like that. And so I don't generally do that kind of thing. I just try to talk about, there's been a lot of the stuff that I've done has been about solutions and where we're going from here, and how does the spiritual war aspects of this translate into what we see in 3D. And also, it's just too fascinating. It's too interesting, because I really think this is the most interesting time in the universe ever. And all of the people that I'm speaking to corroborate this idea. This is the show. This is it. you know, and it's amazing. I mean, it's an absolute privilege to be here. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's what a time to be alive and be able to be witness to this golden age of man and consciousness. Really, I mean, we're re-evolving. I've talked to people like Michael Cremo, and we talk about the history of it, which is somewhere where I kind of started in this, is connecting those ancient cultures and how they were, more advanced spiritually or consciously than we are, and we're getting back to that true nature of ourselves, and the re-evolution of mankind and humanity and consciousness. And I just resonated with what you said so much too, because before, when the last 2 years happened, I felt like I had to redirect my energy too, and that's where this show came from. Was I was guest appearing on people's shows, but now I had to kind of facilitate the conversations that would be holding on these ideas of what I truly believed. And I went to my mother, and she was like, how could you, I was always raised very religious, and I did lose God for a little while too. So there's a lot of similarities there. And she was like, it's really hard to listen to what you're saying sometimes. And it's really, it's crazy. And I said, I understand that, but you have to understand that when you stare at the abyss, you can't become the abyss. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change that polarity when we're looking at these things, and try and give it some context, and look that we've been through these specific resets before, and we're still here today right now. And it's just truly incredible. And one of the things I loved that you talked about too was the, as if recently, was the breaking down of these symbols that the cabal, I guess, maybe didn't tell us that they were their symbols, but we know for a fact that they were their symbols. And it all started to happen right after CERN, with the guide stones, the obelisk in the Philippines, the obelisks in Rome. What's your take on what's going on with that specific area, and what do you believe caused these things to happen?
Well, I can only guess,
Of course.
I can only guess, but I think God's involved.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
I think God wins. God's already won this. We've already won this, but we're watching it playing out in this dimension as we prepare for the shift. That's what I think is going on. And I think I said to you just before the show, I truly believe that the white hats are real and that they're in control of everything. And it's amazing how many people in the spiritual community are still full of fear. It's amazing how many, and don't want to talk about the darkness. I mean, I've had that argument for years, because I truly believe that the Hopi prophecy said this time was coming, and it was going to be the eagle and the condor coming together, which is really dark and light. And those two things have to be merged together in order for us to evolve. And we've all got to face our shadow. So we're seeing a lot of shadow work being played out in public right now. We're seeing a lot of egos being played out in public right now. But ultimately, the vision I got, Rob, was, and I've had quite a few visions in the last few years, was of a multi-billion piece, multi-dimensional chessboard. And every single one of us is a piece on that board. And we're all being moved around. I mean, like God yanked me out of the car. I mean,
right.
You do get moved around. And when I've done ayahuasca has made me stand up, made me dance, sat me down, moved my throat. I mean, spirit world is totally real. And we're all being moved around exactly as is required for the ultimate objective, which is victory.
I couldn't agree more to it. And one of the things I think we have to look at now too is the opposition is knowing that they're not going to succeed, and there's going to try and be, I think, some collateral things that happen for them to either try and juxtaposition, which they know won't work, but there'll be collateral damage, really. And we have to be on guard for that too. And what we're also seeing now a lot is the infiltration of groups like the truth community and the consciousness community, and these people coming in and sort of trying to create chaos and dissent within those communities. And I think that there's a major play in that chaos movement, because I've seen it play out in the last few days with certain people.
Yep.
Even on my channel, I've had different people come in and give their take on what's happening now, whether it be galactical or political. And other people will be like, well, this one said that and this one said that. And it's like, listen, man, like, everybody's ideas need to be explored, because that's what we're doing. Is nobody has the 100% true answer. we're exploring what this is, and we're seeing how this plays out and how their context fits into your context and how you make that work for you and what resonates with you. And it's wild to see this play out in real time.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, you know, and it puts everybody in a really interesting position because, you know, as you just said, we're explorers, right? That's why I call my show Adventures in a Cosmic Suit, because to me, this is all a great big adventure. And I've never professed to know all the answers. I don't really chase the intel, because the only intel that really matters is in here.
Exactly.
Is your telephone line to God, because you've got all the answers are there. So we're seeing all this stuff play out, and it's just fascinating. I mean, it's like a soap opera.
It truly is. It truly is. And, you know, watching it happen too, I was put onto the Rockefeller Foundation 2014 annual reports where they go through simulations of what the world would look like forward. And that for me was just to see their plan and watching it, like the dominoes fall that they have in that plan. There's so much intel out there, and you're right too. There's so many different styles to it with intel and people who go, you know, to the galactical level and really chase different things and different information. And I think that we all have these dots, and when we have conversations like this, we get to basically combine our dots and see where some of your dots connect two of my dots that didn't connect, and vice versa. And I think that these conversations need to be had because we are walking into this. It's known but unknown, if that makes sense. Like, we've never been there right now, but there are people who have been there, so we can look at their story and say, okay, well, where do we go from here? What's this golden age look like? Now, for me, I know what that is, but for you, what does this next transition, or this transition into this new Earth, look like for Mark?
That's a very good question, because I mean, I've had some amazing experiences in the last couple of years, such as I got told to start. Somebody told me that sent me an email, said they know that you look up every night, because I look up every single night for my whole life. Every single.
Too.
I never.
Me too.
I don't think I've ever missed a night. And you know, I've seen thousands and thousands of unidentified flying objects, you know, over the years. And I'm a pilot, so I know what
Of course
is a, you know. And then I got this email saying they know you look up every night, and I was like, okay, you've got my attention. I'll read the rest of this. And then they said, start trying to telepathically communicate with one of the stars, whichever one resonates with you. So I did this. And then this flash went off and I in the sky. And I heard, did you see that? And I went, yeah. And there was another flash. Did you see that? Yeah. And then it said, watch this. Oh, no. Then it said, are you afraid? And I went, no. And I said, watch this. And there's a light came up like this, right? Just above the houses over there. And it moved really beautifully and slowly along like this. And then the sky lit up, and there was this huge triangular shaped kind of burnt orange colored ship full of hieroglyphics. And then it Star Trek'd off like,
wow.
Like that. And I was just like that going, okay, I'm not mad. Although somebody watching this might think I am mad. But yeah, that happened. And that's really grounded me ever since. And so the ships are real. And I've seen many, many different types of cloaked ships and things like that, and big balls in the sky. You know, there was a crop circle that came out 2 days ago in Wiltshire that showed a sphere and then two other spheres like this. So, you know, this 3D, 4D, 5D thing is all real. Is it another planet? Is it the dome? I mean, I don't really know the answer, is the honest truth.
Me neither.
But I know it's going to be amazing. I think miracles are going to happen. I think we're going to see resurrections. We're going to see things that we couldn't even dream of. I think even the truthers are going to be shocked. Not only the truth that comes out, I think it's even worse than we think. But what we're going to see is going to be even more magnificent than you can't even conceive it. You know, and you know, I think there are ships and these arcs are real and all of this is really interesting. But is it just a dimensional shift? Is it a perception of is it an actual other planet? I honestly don't know the answer, but I'm really excited to find out.
Oh, me too. I worked with Stephen and Evan Strong, and they are.
Oh, yeah, in Australia.
Yep, they work on the Hopi prophecy and that great split in the solstices that we're going out to it. We've done parallel events with them to truly hone in on that specific split and what we needed, the tools that we need to sort of stay on the upper frequency side, to not, for people who weren't as, I guess, adept at learning the information as fast. So we tried to give them crash courses like, hey, we got to get everybody up to speed, no man left behind, And I think what you just said, if the truth community is astounded or astonished by something, then something truly incredible has absolutely happened, because we can be some of the most, cynical people in the world and look at, nothing really surprises us anymore when we look into some of this esoterics and these plans over 100 years playing out. You're like, oh my God. But, that contact, I think for me as well, was it was a moment where I was validated in what we were doing. We were creating this 2 weeks prior. We had just finished the touches on a total disclosure event that we did. And I myself was talking to all these people who had contact. And I'm like, it's pretty wild. I want my now wife, girlfriend at the time, fiance at the time, to watch this event and understand, so we can kind of, share that in that twin flame and truly, exist in each other's world for a minute. And I was outside with her, and I'm like, it would be really great if we saw something right now. And we did immediately.
Yeah.
And it showed us, and then it disappeared. And I looked at her, I said, tell me you saw that. And she was like, well, I'm going to tell you I saw it, but I don't know what the hell that was. And she kind of wouldn't admit to the fact that it was I believe a UFO. She doesn't know what it is, and she's going to stick to that, which is fine. But that was the manifestation of before this event. I got the head nod from the entities, like, okay, keep doing what you're doing. And then again, 2 weeks after the event too. So it was, this is the abilities of our mind. And this is the power of manifestation. And if enough of these people, getting back to Stephen M. Strong, are on this course where we believe this new reality is coming, it's truly going to come without, any pushback. And I think that that's sort of one of the things that I love about them too, and also their history with the Aboriginals and the ancient indigenous peoples' cultures and how they connect symbiotically with the earth, which is something we need moving into that future timeline as well.
100%. I mean, I feel really sorry for the people going around like this. They have no idea this is going on. It's like,
Right.
I know I've got a lot of compassion for them now. I used to hate them because they shouted at me in shops, but they just, how can you miss this? It's just amazing. It's so exciting. I wake up, this hasn't been an easy couple of years, right?
Of course not.
I'm sure you've spiritual attacks and all this kind of stuff. At the beginning, somebody cut the fuel line on my car, and I was like,
my God.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'm completely protected. So I'm and I've now got a very strong relationship with Archangel Michael and God. And that is just wonderful, because it's like deja vu, because it was when I came into this world, I had that relationship all the way through my childhood, and it kind of got eroded and then destroyed, and then it's like coming back. It's like going back to your first wife.
That erosion is intentional. It's intentional with the programming and the deceptions that we see out there, which is the great deception, and it truly is these veils that people can't unsee anymore. And that's what I think is really helping people wake up to this fact that they've been lied to quite a bit, if not your entire life, with a lot of the things you see. But we'll start with, start easy and say, these few things. But it's truly incredible that they're literally, like you said before, they're letting you know what they're doing, which is the revelation of the method. And the revelation of the method is their karmatic way of doing what they do, and feeling that they're not going to get ill begot on them, which is kind of crazy. And the battle with demons too led me to think of something else, and that happened just the other day. And I was outside smoking a cigarette with my wife, and I saw a dark entity come up the stairs, and it was like, oh wow. And I told her about it, which was kind of I shouldn't have done that, because she doesn't, she gets nervous about those things. And I said, we don't have to worry about it. We got the hegemon of God protecting us. There's nothing that entity can do that'll ever come. He came up the stairs, saw it was us, and ran away. Because he knew he couldn't do anything. So, this is where we are right now. And this is that spiritual battle that we have to keep ourselves vigilantly protected, but also relish in the fact that we are always protected. But you have to be vigilant while out and about too, because there's a lot of different entities that are out there, whether they're human, non-human, demonic, multidimensional, extraterrestrial, all of that. It's all out there for us. And I mean, I really think that we're finding this great connection too with that. When there's the great deception, on the opposite side would be the great connection. And I think that we're connecting a lot of these communities that were by themselves or kind of off in their own little space for a long time. And now they see that the collective is kind of growing, and our community consciousness is growing at the same time. And I think that we are on the right track with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're all a team. And,
Exactly.
one of the things that made me laugh is when I did this event in Birmingham with Charlie Ward, which was an all-day event. I hosted it for 7 hours, and it was an amazing event. And one of the things I said on stage, one of the things that one of the insults that gets thrown at some of the people doing this work is that they're like a team. And I said, well, what's wrong with being in a team? I don't understand. That's a good thing. Where we go one, we go all. And at the moment, you've got lots of disparate sections, and people are being broken off into where's your allegiance, and people are constantly having to let go. I think that's part of this, because when God got me out of the suicidal time, the big thing that he said to me was, you have to let go of everything. And I remember going, everything? Yeah, everything. And I was like, whoa, that's quite serious. And, and I've got 5 kids. And I said, well, including my kids? He said, yeah. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't really understand. I mean, the idea of letting go is like, I can't remember that Chinese philosophy. It's not a new idea, but letting go of every idea, every conception, every relationship, every physical material thing. You have to be prepared to let go of everything in order for them to be able to come back in the way that they should. That's what I understand. And, we're all being challenged with letting go of, we might be attached with one truther, and might be attached to somebody else, and then suddenly they're fighting with 2 people that you like are fighting, and you're like, oh my God, which side am I on? Who's telling the truth? And that's what it's all about. It's all, I call it spiritual quarantine, because that's exactly what it is. This time has been given to us so that we can dig deep and find out who we are, where we remember who we are. David Icke wrote about that. His son, Gareth Icke, wrote a song, Remember Who You Are, in 2012. They were right. You've got to remember who you are, which means you start to look up. I've spent the afternoon playing with a new healing device, for example, because I'm fascinated by these technologies that are coming out at the moment, and that there's some really great things. That's what I've loved about doing this show as well. My show is because I just get to interview people that know more than me about stuff.
I love that. That's the best part.
It is, isn't it? And I don't ever want to stop doing it. I love it. Just because there's so many fascinating people out there that have had amazing experiences, and with knowledge, and that's what I want to do, is just bring as much knowledge to the table as possible, and just get this really important thing across to people. Don't be married to any idea. You've got to have an open mind, and don't start reacting. There's too much reaction going on still. People, blah, 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 and reacting. And it's like, no, you're not there. And I think that's why God's making this stuff continue to happen, because it's all the lessons that we need to learn, where we are zen with it all, because everything's exactly as it's meant to be. And I know that's nuts, and I know people are dying, but you're in the biggest computer game ever created, and
right.
It's amazing. And even those hardships that you've been through, your soul asked for those hardships. And that is the hardships in your life are the equivalent of going on an amazing roller coaster. You get off the ride and you go, whoa. But as you're climbing up to the top of the hill, before you go down, you're like, I wish I wasn't on this roller coaster.
Your stomach's dropping, like, oh
yeah,
man.
Exactly. But you get the other side of it. When we get the other side of this, it's going to be amazing. I just know that in my soul. So
I agree.
Because of that, I think that's why people like us got chosen to do this sort of work, because other people just need a little bit of reassurance, and also to understand their power. Because when you're still stuck in shame and guilt and disagreement arguments, you're giving them what they want. That's what they want. You've got to, like you said with the entity, once I realized that the entities and the demons have absolutely no power over me unless I consent. That's why this whole planet is based on consent and contracts, because that's the only way they have power over you, even if they trick you into it. So you've got to just stop consenting. and start studying, do some research, go and find out how this world really works. But you have to find it out for yourself, because you cannot change somebody's mind. They have to find it out for them. That's why I love 17 so much. People say to me, oh, that was just a military blah, blah, psyop. And I'm like, no, it isn't. Go back and read the posts. That was the pure genius. Because what did it do? It made millions and millions of people start thinking for themselves, which is what we have to do to graduate from this school we call Earth.
Absolutely correct. And one of the things I love about this topic too, and talking about that awakening process, is there is those profound moments where people they hear just that right something to engage them into say, you know what, I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper. I want to get this done. I want to see what this is about. And that is profound. And another reason why I love to have everybody on too is because while I might not be the one saying it, somebody else saying it is going to engage that emotional reaction, which is going to turn into a logical buildup, I guess, instead of getting them out of that emotional space and kind of keep taking people to this place where logic dictates and research is key, you know. And eventually when the discernment kicks in, people will hear things, and if it doesn't apply, they just let it fly. But you're right. In the very beginning, people get emotional about it. Like, no, that can't be. That can't be. You're not there yet, man. Like, I can listen to anybody say anything and I'll say, all right, you know what? That makes sense. I see where they would come from. Now, whether I, incorporate that into what I know now is based upon my experience, and that's where the experience comes in. But, and the entities will have you not even hear that. And I think that's another important factor of bringing people on, is to let those messages be heard. And when we come together and we collaborate, things become extra special, because it's two different perspectives that have never, had contact or talked before, engaging on something that we can see all the different sides of it, and we can really get a full, robust understanding of what those things are.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the other thing that's really interesting, I don't know if you found this, that people don't know how to listen.
Very much so.
It's amazing.
Very much so.
It's amazing. People ask me questions. I was like, well, I've done about 5 shows on that, or I did a poem on that. Or why are you asking what the title of the book that I'm talking about is when it's in the title of the video that you're watching? And it's amazing. And that lack of listening. I mean, I've employed 300 people in my business career, right, at least, and listening is the worst. It's a nightmare, because people just. I used to love catching people out. I'd sit and say, okay, so you understand this is the role, this is what you got to do. And they go, no, yeah. And I go, you just said no. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. You went, no, yeah. And then you explain to them that the yes was what I wanted to hear, but the no was their internal no. And they said it, but without even realizing, and they didn't even hear themselves say it. So I had to record them doing it and then prove it to them, because people don't, and they don't tell the truth. And this period of time, David Icke wrote Truth Vibrations in 1998 about this time. And truth is God. Okay. So truth seekers are really God seekers,
Very much so.
And this connection to God is what this is all about. And the most amazing thing about the last 2 years is it's shown up everybody for exactly who they are. Because people wearing this, what are they saying? God got it wrong. Did he? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
People who think you need this to fight off a cold, they're saying the same thing. God got it wrong.
Well,
and that's what this is all about. It's all about Lucifer becoming God, and that's just not going to happen on my watch. It's just not going to happen.
Well, he tried to do it while up in heaven, and then decided he would play the long game down here and try and do it in a different manner. And I truly believe that too. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, we usually run about an hour, so we have about 15 minutes left, is you have a how to maximize your light in the cosmic suit in 90 days. Tell us a little bit about how that works, and give us your understanding so people can understand. It's in the description for the people who want to join and become a part of that, but I would love for you to explain it for people.
Well, that course came about because and it's possibly one of the most controversial things I've ever done, especially with spiritual people, because they all think that there's a lot of people out there saying you're not going to ascend unless you're a vegan. So there's an element to this course which involves being a carnivore. which people can't spiritually connect. And I think it's one of the last things we have to overcome. But how that came about is that I interviewed, it's such a weird coincidence, this, because there was a guy that I used to know in the internet marketing world from like the last 15 years. We were mates. And he stopped talking to me about 5 or 6 years ago because I went on a business conference. We stayed up till 4 a.m. and I was telling all these other business guys, the world is run by, you know, child eating, satanic fucking blah, blah, reptiles. And they're like, you're just mad, right? So he cut me off 5 years ago from Facebook because he just couldn't cope with what I was talking about. And then he gets in touch with me and says, oh, I've been working with these guys and they've written a book called The Red Pill Revolution. I said, that sounds good. Got the book, interviewed them. Great bunch of guys. And they knew what I knew. And I was like, and one of them in particular, Jeremy Ayres, he's had run-ins with them the same as I have over the last 20, 30 years. And he's a healer. And most of the people that he heals in his private healing sessions are people that from all around the world that have been given a diagnosis of terminal cancer or whatever. And he's brought them back from the dead. And I've met them. I've met people that he's cured, including his current wife. And basically, he'd worked with some amazing people over the last 30 years. And over the last 10, 15 years, he put together this protocol. And cut a long story short, I went to visit him at his house for the weekend. And he looked at me and he said, well, Mark's good. He's robust spiritually, emotionally, but he's a bit knackered. And I'm a bit tired today as well. I've been at it all weekend. But he thought I was having adrenal failure. And he said, listen, same here. I've been working so hard. I'm going to challenge you to this, to do my protocol for 90 days. What do you say? And I knew it was the right thing for me to do. And it's not just about eating meat. There's a lot more to it. So I agreed to do it. And then the day before we were due to start, I said, why don't we get some other people to do this with us? And then basically, I think we've had like 1,500 people do it with us.
Wow.
And that was the 1st of January. And we filmed it all live over a 3-month period with video diaries, with protocol documents, with live Q&A sessions. I think it's like 30 hours of videos in there. And we made it super cheap. So nobody had a reason why they couldn't do it. And we just challenged these people. I just did a video on it last week. The testimonials, the reversing of illnesses, diabetes, cancer, arthritis, things like that is just off the charts. People's energy have gone up. And it all comes down to the crap in each cell. This protocol removes the crap. So you get more light coming into you. And and as we know, the light contains the activation codes that we all need to ascend, because we're going to have our DNA activated. So you want to give as clear a pathway as possible by having more light in your cosmic suit. So we called it that, and then we recorded it so anybody can join it anytime they like. But go and watch some of the videos, because the community that's been created around it is mind-blowing. And I know people are going to go on about the vegan and meat thing, but honestly, I was a vegan a year ago. I'm looking at my vegetable patches that I built during the pandemic, and they're now redundant because I won't eat any vegetables ever again. Right. And I think where we're going, we're not going to be eating food anyway. But what this thing's really about is what you stop consuming. It's not really about what you're consuming; it's about what you're no longer consuming, and understanding why you shouldn't consume it. Because the government has lied to us about every single thing since day one. And what have they been pushing for the last 30 years? 5 a day. What's been pushed to death on people like a religion? Veganism, the last 10 years. What's Bill Gates doing? Trying to get rid of cows and grow whatever crap in the lab. So once you understand all of that, you go, well, hang on, however difficult this is, I should at least try it. And that's what I say to people, just try it. Because if you try it and notice, because we all need to heal. And we need to be ready, because we've got a massive job to do. We think the last 2 years has been hard. What's coming when the big awakening happens properly? There's going to be you and me. We're going to have queues of people going, "Why didn't you tell me?" Well, we've been trying to tell you.
Right?
They're going to want answers. They're going to want healing, and there's so much work to be done that we need to be in good shape. So that's why that course exists.
You've got to align your physical vessel with your consciousness, and it is a congruency between the two, and there's an alignment that truly has to be, brought together. And I think that one of the interesting things about that story you just said is somebody who stopped talking to you was engaged, and then, they had hit their threshold where these people, especially when it comes to businessmen too, they're so in a routine that it's very difficult for them to get outside of that routine. So something major had to happen to those people to bring them back to come back, which is an incredible story, which means that there are people being reached at the farthest reaches of corporate America, and in these really regimented routines to wake up now. Now it's time. And now it's time. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that the veganism is, if you see these people, they almost look sickly when they start
They
to
are.
be vegan. It's exactly right. And then, you have
Can't
people
tell them
like,
that. You can't tell them that though.
no, they're the healthy ones and you're not.
They're the most aggressive people I've ever met, and I know
That's
why.
true.
I know why
That's
now
true.
because of oxalates. Anybody watching this is just go and look up oxalates. That's all you got to do. And once you get that, you're like, why am I eating these things? I mean, vegetables have feelings. They don't want to be eaten. They can't run away, so they have inbuilt defense mechanisms, and we're eating them. Well, I'm not.
Well, no, and then you got people like Klaus Schwab too, like you'll eat the bugs and you will like it. No, there's no nutritional protein in those bugs to be eaten, and that's what they want to do, is they want to ruin the physical vessel so the consciousness can excel, because there is a need for the alignment of both, and it's truly diabolical. And this is why that I wanted to highlight on this course, because people need to understand that these are the things that will help you, and you'll have more energy and you'll feel more vibrant in this fight coming, because it truly is a moment where you will need all of your faculties in every which way to be able to move forward. And we have to prepare ourselves, which is something that we've done with the two paths to one road. Basically, two paths lead to one road, and that one road is the internalization of everything. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that taking it all inside, and I just think it's incredible.
Well, if you told me I'd be doing a thing about eating meat last year, I'd have laughed at you. But if you told me I was be talking about demons on YouTube, I'd be laughing at you. We're all having to face all sorts of things, and letting go is the key. You have to let go of all these ideas, because you have been programmed. You've got to go back. You've got to go back to a clean slate and go, right, okay, I understand I've been programmed. What am I? And write a list. What do I believe? And write those things down and go, right, I'm going to pick those apart now and go there. Because you ain't got no choice.
That's it. It's the choice is actually going to be out of your hands very shortly. I wanted to end with two questions. One I ask everybody, but one before that is, during your time of now doing your show, what has been your favorite moment in broadcasting? And tell us a little bit about it.
That's a good question. I think my favorite moment was when I got sent a video of, there was an SRA rally in Australia, and there were all these Australians there in, I think it was Melbourne, and they were all reading my poem out. And I just cried my eyes out. I couldn't believe that poem was, they considered it that good that they were going to read it out at a live event, and it was my poem. That was just...
It is that good. Your poems are that good, and I have read your poetry, and it is profound. And I know somebody by the name of Neil Gower with Portal to Ascension, and he does spoken word, and I believe you two should get together and do a spoken word poetry sort of event. And because when I was watching and listening and reading, I'm like, this is incredible. It's incredible. I think that you have a power to articulate, like you said, the sigils that used to have that energy and the vibration in those words, and you articulate that when you speak these poems, and they are. I was listening to one, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I had to stop, go back to the beginning, and hear it again, and I'm like, this is incredible. Like I felt almost as if burdens were being lifted off of me, and it was truly incredible. Let me see if I can figure out which one it was that I saw.
Well, I'll just say something on that, Rob, because
go ahead.
It wasn't my ego that was pleased. It was just I just felt so emotional that God had chose to put those words through me, and it was giving these people strength, and the people that we're talking about, the ones that have been through hell, right? And that was just an amazing thing. The other thing is, it's like my other course, How to Monetize What's Already in Your Head. It's all about using the enemy's weapons against them. It's like the principle of Aikido, right? Or martial arts. You use their energy against them. And I know the English language was created as a spell to trap us, right? Because we manifest using that language. So I just like the fact that I can use that their trap against them, if you see what I mean.
Right. I think it was Never, what was it? Never Forget was the one that truly just took me back.
Oh,
And
that
I
one,
was
yeah.
like, wow, that's because it is serious, but you also are a little bit light with it too. And I loved it. I loved it. But, you know, not to go too deep into it, but guys, check out his poetry. It's also in the description. You'll see a link to Mark's website where you can find the poetry as well. It has a whole tab dedicated to it. So last question before we end is, I give everybody at the end of the show, we have about 5 minutes left, so I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes before we go to the outro. I would love to have you tell the people something you think that they need to hear in this moment in time right now.
God wins.
Plain and simple.
It's as simple as that. God wins. And, you know, you are a fractal of God. You are God. And, you know, what's coming is so, so beautiful. Just get yourself ready. But just relax and don't be afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of.
That is truly powerful. That it is what it is right now. And we have to take whatever curveballs come within this moment, knowing that we are on the winning end of this. It'll make it easier. And you can see there's 222 people watching right now, which is another sign. As you said, God wins. It shows the symbolism, and these are the things you look for because they're validation and their confirmation. And I was going to say something else, but I decided to veer off towards that because it felt right and it felt good. And Mark, keep up working the way you do. Keep doing what you do, because you are changing the world with what you do, and it's profound. It's amazing, and I truly enjoy it. And I know there's at least 40,000 other people out there that are enjoying it by your subscription count, but I'm sure that there's hundreds of thousands of more with Rumble and Bitchute and the website. You have taken a lot of the context that is very confusing to a lot of people and broken it down so people can hear it. And you repeat it, and when you repeat it, it becomes solidified in their mind. And now they have this ability to move past those things with understanding. The information is the activations, and we are the ones that we've been waiting for. So we need to act like it.
Beautifully put. And I look forward to being in that once great state of New York when it's great again, because I love New York. And, but my God, what have they done to New York? Oh my God.
Horrible.
And buying you a beer, because meeting guys like you just makes all this worthwhile, and the audience as well. It's a fantastic journey.
It truly is. And I look forward to that.
Yeah.
I look forward to that beer, and I can't wait to work with you more further in the future. I think that we have a lot of good to do together as well. And, you know, everybody who's out there, please like, subscribe, and definitely share this out. We're going to create the change that we want to see. So by sharing these words out, especially in more Mark words than mine, because he knows what he's talking about, is delved into research, we can change the hearts and minds of the people out there who are still lacking or left behind. Because no man behind. I really don't want to leave anybody behind. Like we said in the beginning, at first it's a little adversarial, but now we're getting to this point where it is no man left behind. Everybody should be in the knowing, and being in the knowing is empowering us for the future. So with that being said, Mark, I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to speak with you today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I love this episode. I can't wait to work with you further, and I appreciate you.
Right back at you, Rob. Right back at you. Thank you. And thank you, everybody.
Excellent. Excellent. So with that being said, from myself, Mark, we are out of here. Have a great rest of the Sunday, everybody.